Hi, everybody. I say hi, everybody. It's just me. I think it's going to be just me today because I have no idea what I'm doing, guys. I just filled out the thing, and oh boy, I mean, uh, so I'm usually over on Instagram, and then I thought I would come over here, and so here I am. I did it. I can see myself. I think you can hear me. Let's see. Yeah, I think you can hear me. Oh boy. Okay, it's gonna be fun, guys. So we over on Instagram talked about a little bit about masking and how very, 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 very exhausting it is for kids with neurodivergent brains. And we have to do something about it. And everybody is kind of like, right? Teachers are thinking that they're exhausted. They're doing what they can. Sometimes we don't have the right information. So I'm here to like kind of figure out what can we do with a field that is exhausted, with a field that doesn't necessarily have the right information. Because even though those are the things, we still have to help the kids, unfortunately, right? I was a kindergarten teacher for 10 years, and I remember being exhausted, and that was years ago. So it is not, I am still in the classroom every day. I'm in classrooms and homes every day, and I see the exhaustion of teachers, and I see the exhaustion of parents. And I get it. But I also think that we can still do little things to help these kids who are masking all day long. And so let's talk about what masking really is. So, right, I am getting a lot of teachers that say these kids are, well, they're fine. They're wonderful. They're great. Awesome. Oh, if I could clone him, I would, or her, I would. And then come to find out they're masking all day and they go home and they fall apart. When you're neurotypical and you hold it together all day and fall apart at home, it's called after school restraint collapse. That's not the same for someone who is neurodivergent, because schools are made for neurotypical kids. And, right, there's a lot of kids, it's really loud. Almost every autistic kid I've ever talked to says, why does there have to be so many people? Why is it so loud? I've had more than one kid tell me that school and classroom and other kids smell like farts. Which I want to go to those schools. Like, I've never really been to a school or in a classroom that smells like farts. But these kids are like, it just smells terrible. So, right, their sensory system, their nervous system is on high alert. But they also know that if they take their mask off, that it is going to be very hard for them, because they need to hold it together or do a certain thing or be a certain way for other kids to like you. They have figured out that they can't just be truly who they are. And that's sad, right? So I have a neurotypical brain, but I remember having to hold it together because I am loud and feisty and sassy. I also needed to move a lot and wanted to argue more than I did and get more mad than I did. And I held it together. But I also found other ways to calm and be okay. And I think when kids are masking and they go home exhausted, they're not finding another way to be okay. We're not either giving them what they need because we don't know. Sometimes we just don't know what we don't know. So, right, guys would be so proud of me. I took notes. So I see a lot of kids with these neurodivergent brains with hoods up, like hiding. I had some boy not yesterday, a couple days ago, tell me that he he is exhausted, and he hates school, and he doesn't like math, and he doesn't like to write. And he goes, I just slide under my desk and sit on the floor. His mom goes, you do? He goes, yeah. The mom's like, what did the teacher say? He goes, I don't know. He like right. If he's under the desk and on the floor, he's done. He's all finished. So we have to watch out for that. I have a lot of kids that wear hoods. It's not kids aren't wearing a hood to like be difficult. It's not a behavior. They're wearing a hood to like cancel out the sensory piece, to feel better. I've had so many kids tell me it's just my way of like canceling out the world, of it being like, oh, it's so much better this way than this way. So watching for those things, and I think this is a broad statement. Of course there can be of course there are times this isn't true, but I think for the most part it is true. So if they look fine, chances are they're probably not. If you have a kid that you know is a neurodivergent thinker, right? The ones I work with most of the time are depression, anxiety, ADHD, ADD, and autism. Those are the neurodivergent brains I work with most of the time. That if they look fine, it's time to ask more questions. That's my universal strategy in all the toolboxes, is ask more questions. Hey, is this room too loud? Right? Do we have headphones? Is there like a different place you'd like to work? I notice you wear your hood a lot. Is that, I'm wondering if that's telling me you'd like to be in a quieter area, right? I also know that these kids need a lot of space to recharge. That's what they're doing at home, but they're most of the time falling apart first before they, right, are feeling better. So at school, I also am hearing a lot of kids with lunch is really tough. The cafeteria is loud. It is probably stinky. It's just everybody's too close. They have this urgency to like to be social, and then everything's too loud, and then I don't really know how to have this conversation, nor do I care about this conversation. The small talk can be really tricky. So they just want to go somewhere else. I know probably 99% of the kids I talk to would rather go someplace else in the cafeteria for lunch. They'd like to recharge, and they don't want to go to a lunch bunch, guys. So lunch bunch can be done well. I mostly see them done not well. So not well means that I'm trying to put all these neurodivergent kids together and teach them neurotypical social skills, which, right, we're not trying to make neurodivergent kids look normal. We are trying to get neurodivergent kids to understand other neurodivergent kids, and neurotypical kids to understand neurodivergent kids, and neurodivergent kids to understand neurotypical kids. But that means we have to have a discussion about how brains work, right? I think the discussion should start at the very beginning of the year, right? That's something we can do. Something, right? I've been into classrooms to teach adults and kids about stimming, and that is a great conversation opener. Stimming because he is excited, because he's mad, because he's trying to calm, because his sensory system is trying to stay in check. When he's stimming, you can ask if he's okay. You can ask what he's excited about, right? And then if you could talk to him about maybe why you don't stim. Like we should be having conversations about like, hey, my brain doesn't work like your brain. And all our brains are welcome here. That means I'm going to say some kids can do things because I know that's what their brain needs, and other kids need other things because that's what their brain needs. So, right, you're going to have a discussion about fair versus equal. That's something you can have as an exhausted teacher, I guess, right? You can have those conversations with kids being like, all brains are awesome. Tell me how your brain works, right? I've had kids that have explained their brain in like pictures. And I was like, whoa, that is so helpful for me to know. I had one kid one time tell me, he goes, ADHD and autistic. He said to me, he goes, it is like I'm walking on a paved road. And I know that I'm not supposed to go into the holes and the broken pavement. But no matter how hard I try to skirt around it, I fall in. And when I fall in, I know I'm supposed to get out. I don't know how to. And I was like, I wish all kids would tell me their brain was like that. Because I get it. So my work with him was to figure out how to get around the holes and why the holes were there, what were in the holes, how can we, right, can we go around the holes? Well, we figured out we had to put like boards over the holes first, or he's like, I'm going to try to jump them. And I said, how did that go? He goes, well, I made some, I fell in some, right? So all our conversations had to do with that picture in his brain. So if we don't ask more questions of kids, they can't tell you stories like that. So we can't figure it out. So we can't help. And sometimes you just have to say, I think this isn't going well for you. And I want it to. But I don't know what I don't know. The number one strategy that works is saying, hey, I messed up. I'm sorry this happened. How can I do better? Relinquishing some of your power and control and asking kids how you can do better will almost always work. I've done it many times with kids and I'm like, wow, I totally messed that up. I did this. I do it with my own son all the time. I was like, I did this and you know what? I should have asked more questions. I just was like, we need to go right now. And I put all my strategies, they just all fell out of my head and I just acted like a dingbat. And I'm really sorry I did that. And I'm going to work harder. Is there anything I could do differently? I've asked my son that. Is there anything I could do differently? And right. And my little mom brain was like, oh gosh, don't, like, because I'm asking you to tell me things that I'm not good at. It's hard to hear. And he said, I wish when I said things to you that you didn't interrupt me and you listened to everything. And I have a really hard time with that because I am really good at talking over you. Not so much in my professional life, in my personal life. So my son will say now, Mommy, listen to everything. Oh, I said, okay. And he says, okay, I'm done. And he tells me when he's finished so I can like work with that. So asking more questions is something we could do. Let's see. Having those conversations with how everybody's brain works. Maybe you can sit down and write a story about it. Maybe you can draw a picture about how your brain works. I think you could do a lot of brain stuff. And if you get stuck, that's what the guidance counselor, the OT is for. They can help you figure out what sort of activities you could do to show that everybody's brain works differently. I think pictures is a pretty good one. Pictures is a great way to show how kids' brains work. And it doesn't need to be, so when I say draw pictures, I don't mean then make a bulletin board and put it up in the hallway because kids aren't going to draw. They're going to be mortified. It's just for you draw it and then you can share it. And you can show me, you could talk to other kids about it, right? Or you can just draw it and throw it away, right? And if you see kids who draw it and throw it away and don't share it, right? Oh, got it. Okay. So I'm probably going to have to ask that kid more questions. There's stuff going on there that maybe he's embarrassed about. Maybe she doesn't want to talk to people about. Maybe she's afraid no one's going to understand it. So I need to, right, hang out close and see what I can do. Okay, what else do we have? So this one is tricky because this next one is tricky because I feel like after COVID, I don't know what's happening, but teachers and parents are against each other. And we really need especially after COVID. We need them to be like this. And it's not like this in a lot of places. So when I ask about, Pinterest behavior games, right? You know what I'm talking about. Stickers, tickets, tokens, points, clips, and candy. That we're not supposed to be using those. But what are what are we supposed to be doing? What do we do instead? And it's, what new information do we need so we know what to do instead? And some of the new information, it's not another Pinterest behavior strategy. It is to talk to the parents about what the kids look like when they get home. Sometimes I go into the homes and the kids tell me all this stuff that's happening at school, and I write it all down, and then I tell the parents, and the parents are like, I had no idea. The parents go into the teachers, and the teachers say this: really? He's doing great. He's doing fine. He's doing terrific. He's doing awesome. Well, that's not true. He's not doing awesome because I talked to him, and this is what's happening. So listening to the parents about what it looks like at home. I think a lot of times we hear that doesn't happen here, either parent to teacher or teacher to parent. And let's not assume that the other's lying. We're assuming that we want to think like, right, because home is different than school, or school is different than home. Right? At home, doesn't smell like farts, maybe, or you don't have a lot of kids, and there's not a lot of academic pressure, and so home looks different. Of course it does. So figuring out how to work together is tricky. I know it's really tricky. I remember when I taught, sometimes the parents, I was like, oh, and as a parent, sometimes teachers are, but I think most teachers want what's best for the kids, and most parents want what's best for the kids. So if you start on that platform, I know that it's much harder, right? I could be here for 4 hours talking about that. But to listen to what's happening in school for the parents, and for the teachers to listen to what's happening at home, and how do we get to a different place, right? According to home and school. So, okay, here's one that I think all teachers will agree with me on that. Teachers need more help. Do you know how many times I've had this happen? Teachers are like, so I have kids that do this, and this, or I have 5 kids on IEPs, and this is happening, and all the other kids aren't able to learn, and we're having a really hard time. And my first question is always, who else is in the class with you? Do you know how many teachers have said, just me? What? Just you? And 20 kids, and right now people are like, 20 kids, that's a dream. 20 kids, 30 kids. Someone told me the other day 38 kids in the US. I think there's more in other countries, but 38 kids. I don't even know how you do a good job, just you. So we need more help. And part of that help is getting new information. So when I have sat around IEP tables and talk about kids with autism or ADHD or anxiety, I'm like, does anybody have, right, if I'm in a IEP meeting for an autistic kid, and they say to me, we start, and I say, anybody here autistic? And most of the time it's no. Okay, so who do we follow on social media? What books do we read? What articles are we reading to make sure that we fully understand an autistic brain? I'm not autistic. Do you know how much research I do day after day after day after day, week after week after week after week? I read the books. I follow people on social media because I have to know what to do and what the new research is, and why the autistic community doesn't love ABA. And then there's the ABA community that's trying to make it more humane. And then there's some communities that are saying, no way to ABA, doesn't matter how you change it, right? Who's who are neuroaffirming practitioners, SLPs, who are neuroaffirming OTs, who are also a neuroaffirming behavior people. Like, are we following all those people because they know what's happening, right? They get it. I want to know, right? When people say like, nope, ABA is the best. And I was like, so I've never been in ABA. I've never done ABA, right? I had to take a very different route in behavior, so I didn't do ABA. But in the autistic community, it's about 98% say no, thank you. I don't even know if they'd say no, thank you. That's probably too polite. They'd probably say no way, Jose. And so I'm going with the 98%, and I'm going to find a different way. And that means I have to find new information. But where do you get it? Right? People like read books. Yeah. What books? You need books written by autistic individuals. Not the old school books. Not the books from 1985. They have the wrong information. Unfortunately, we can't be teaching like 1985. We could barely teach like 2019, right before the pandemic. We have to get new information, which means, and I know that a lot of educators are like, I don't have time for that. I get it. I also understand that. But there's no way around it. It's either you get the new information or you don't know what you don't know. And if you don't know what you don't know, then I don't know how you know it unless you know it. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you just have to, right? I have a masterclass that is 9 hours long that talks about how to help kids with challenging behaviors and neurodivergent brains. And it's 9 hours. And people are like, I don't have time for 9 hours. I was like, I like whittled it down to 9 hours. It should have been 45 hours. 9 hours. And I was like, I don't know. Can you do like an hour a week? So it takes you 9 weeks. Can you do an hour a week instead of watching a show? Can you, I don't know, can you reward yourself? I don't believe in rewarding kids with sticker charts and stuff, but I do believe in rewarding yourself if it's something that's hard for you, right? I'm rewarding myself for this YouTube live because I did it and I filled out all the things. And I don't know if it's going to be a video on my YouTube channel. I don't know if I can figure that out. We'll see. It'll be fun. But we do need to get new information. And the thing is, in schools is, I would hope you already have built-in professional development. But then I see some that there's this professional development that's built in, that's what? PBIS. Guys, no to PBIS. So, no to ABA. No, like, we shouldn't be. I've had so many people taking this professional development and it's old information and they've like screenshotted and showed me and I'm like, bah! And I right? And so then but it's mandatory. The principal says I have to. And I was like, I know more than the principal does about behavior. I don't know about the politics and finances of a school. I have no idea. My drunk squirrels have no idea about that. But I do know more about behavior. And so then people are like, how do I not do it? And that could be a whole nother video. But we're trying to figure out how to help these kids with masking, but does administration have any information to give you on masking? I know about masking because I'm in the communities all the time and with the kids all the time. And I knew about masking before I knew it was called masking. I just realized that kids were faking it. That's what I thought until I knew that there was a term for it. And then how do I help those kids not fake it and be their authentic selves so they don't have to be burned out and exhausted all the time? And I'm getting right in, and on Instagram, I did my short little reel and then I said I'd be over here today at 10. But the comments I got were like, yeah, you're exactly right. People said I was in tears listening to this because this is how I am all day. I go to work, I mask the entire day, and I can't do anything else when I get home but sit on the couch. I could barely eat. I could barely move. Like, that's not how we want people to be. That's not how I want kids to be in school. I don't want them to be easy for me. So when they get home, they fall apart. That is not what needs to happen. I don't want adults to be like that either. But again, do these environments have the right information, right? So teachers need more help. We need neuro-affirming information, not reward systems. So reward systems should never be used with kids with trauma, should never be used with neurodivergent kids, because they don't know what the skill is to get the sticker, ticket, token, point, clip, or candy. I had to add candy to that, by the way, guys. They're terrible strategies that involve candy. So those are the things we can do. Let's review them. We can ask more questions. When we think kids are fine, they're probably not. So let's ask more questions, okay? Let's talk about different brains. Let's start with maybe let's draw your brain. And then where are we going to go from there? Right? You can even ask kids, you know what? I want everybody to draw how their brain feels in my class. And then you can share them if you want. Right? And I guess I would draw my brain as a teacher, and then I would share. Maybe have somebody come in and draw their brain, another adult, and share. So it seems safe to share. You'll always have a temperament that will share in your class. There'll always be a kid that started the show who's like, wow, I'll share. Because they like to have an audience and be up in front of the class. So hopefully you'll get enough kids to share that it won't seem so scary. Then we have to listen to parent stories, and parents listen to teacher stories. How can we start to go like this with parents and teachers so we can both be there for the kids, right? We're listening to what parents know about their kids. We're listening to what teachers know about their kids in the academic environment. And then how do we stay on the same page to help this kid? Because I've been in so many meetings where I think they forget that there's a kid there. They just want to be right. Right? I'm like, well, we forgot. We're here for Sophia. We have to help her. Right? So like, cool. And we're forgetting that there's a child involved here that's having a hard time. We need to get teachers more help. I don't know. That's when I don't have a solution to. When COVID hit, all the paras went on a cruise and never came back. I don't know. Every school I go to does not have paras or aides or teachers. They don't even have, right? Everybody's doesn't have enough teachers. So, and paras and helpers and whatever. So, I don't really know the solution to that. I just know that is a huge issue, to have a lot of kids that have a lot of IEPs, or that I even want to do the draw a picture of your brain. Like that might even be too hard if you don't have, right? If you have 30 kids and now you're going to do that all by yourself, that could be overwhelming. And then get new neuroaffirming information. Where do you get that, right? If you want to come here to me, I will help you. I have lots of accounts to follow. I have lots of information. I have lots of workshops. If you want to go over to my Instagram channel, it's at Meg Thompson Behavior. Meg has 2 G's. And I have I'm always giving away workshops. I'm always with free codes, and I'm always giving information. So I could be the place you start, and then you can go someplace else. I can guide you someplace else to find other information. But those are the things we can start doing now to help this masking, guys. We don't want kids and adults. Somebody said to me, what about the adults, right, of these kids? And most of the time, if you have a neurodivergent kid, you're working with neurodivergent parents, and sometimes you have neurodivergent teachers. So we have to make sure that all of us are healthy, that parents are healthy, that teachers are healthy, that kids are healthy, and we're not all masking and all falling apart. And I think it has to be a concerted effort. It has to, we all have to stay connected. We all have to make sure if someone's talking about it, that I'm actively listening to you, and that, we all want to get to this different place. The first thing you could do to a kid is say, I notice that I missed some things, and I would love for you to tell me if there's anything I could do differently. And I will try my hardest to get it done. I'm sorry that it's February and I missed a lot of stuff. I just thought you were okay. And I'm starting to find out that's probably not the truth. And if there's any way I can help you, just let me know. If you can't think of anything right now, I'm always here and open to hearing more. You can always write me notes. You can have your mom email me. You can have your mom call me. Any way you want to get me the information is more than great. So that could be where you start. I hope this was helpful, guys. Guys, I think there's one of you. I appreciate the one of you. As I do this more, hopefully more people will come. We can look back on this and say, remember that time I talked to myself for most of it and one person for the rest of it? I have drunk squirrels in my head. They talk to themselves often. We often have staff meetings, the drunk squirrels and I. So talking to myself for half an hour is not a big deal. But I still think it's great. I hope that more people watch this. And if you want, head over to Instagram at Meg Thompson Behavior to find out even more stuff. Okay, guys, thanks so much. Let's see if I can actually end the stream and then post the video. That could be fun. Okay, love you guys. Thank you.